Well, welcome everybody to the November 12th Historic Preservation Commission meeting. I guess we'll do roll call. We don't always do that, but we can do that.
Okay.
You want to go through?
Carol Denke,
Here.
Dr. Brian Bergfeld.
Here.
Sure. Dr. Jason Vassar Elon.
I think he said he didn't.
Yes, he's absent. Susanna Delicato,
Here.
Hillary Perkins,
Here.
John Pierce,
Here.
Gene Spur,
Here.
Doug Stanley.
Here.
Great, perfect, thank you. And Angela Thompson is here.
Yes, that's
So we do have a quorum.
all right. Great. Okay, our next item is approval of the October 10th meeting minutes. Hopefully everyone's had some time to review them. If you have any comments.
It was October 8th, I believe.
October 8th. Okay, yes, okay. October 8th. Yes.
Other than that, for me, the content looked fine.
No, it's like the minutes are right. That was just the agenda. Okay,
Yeah.
so the minutes are good.
Right.
It's October 8th.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything? Okay. Hearing nothing.
Approve. You need a motion?
Yes, a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was not here, so
Okay.
I'm not.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wasn't either, so maybe I shouldn't count.
Oh, that's okay. All right, the minutes are approved as written. We don't have any public hearings. Are there visitors with comments other than those for the demolitions? Are you here for the one of the demolitions? Okay, we'll move on to that next. Then, unless there's any sort of visitor comments, it doesn't look like there's any visitors, other than you. All right, so our first project is 112 Oakwood Avenue. Hopefully everyone's had time to review the information for this project. This is a request for demolition of a single family dwelling. Does anybody have any comments on it or thoughts about that one?
We have the applicant representative.
Doug, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Great. All right, if nobody has any comments, which one are you here for? This one or?
Yes, for this one.
Okay, is there anything you'd like to tell us or?
No, it's all.
Okay. All right. Well then, if no one has any comments, can we have a motion for 112 Oakwood Avenue?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the demolition of 112 Oakland Avenue. Oakwood, thank you.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? All right, 112 Oakwood Avenue the application has passed for demolition then.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your volunteer time and hard work. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pretty easy for you.
But thank you for coming.
Okay, our next project is 610 Cornelia Avenue. It is also a demolition of a single family dwelling. Anyone have any comments on this one? Another little home that does not appear to be in great shape.
Yeah, it looks like they had a fire and perhaps
Yeah.
mold from the fire extinguishing. I think it's clearly not suitable for preservation or restoration. So, when the time comes, I would move to demolish it.
Yeah, both these
It sounded like my
house.
were kind of easy in a way.
Yeah, sounds like they have a
Okay.
lizard.
Do we have a motion for 610 Cornelia Avenue?
I'll make the motion to approve the demolition request for 610 Cornelia.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, 610 Cornelia Avenue demolition request has been approved. All right, and we don't have Aaron is not here today. So the next item on the agenda is the status of the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I can
Do you?
provide some feedback. Actually, I have a request for everyone. If you would, please help spread the word, because there's a survey that's being undertaken currently. And if you go to the website journey2wg.com, there's a community survey that's available, and it's going to be up through, let's see here, through November 22nd. And the survey is asking residents and businesses about people's preferences, interests, values for Webster Groves, and we could really use more survey participants, frankly. So if you could help spread the word, that would be wonderful. Or if you yourself would want to take the survey, that would be fantastic.
Is this different from the survey that was up earlier? That was on the website?
How much earlier?
Well, I think I did it about a couple months
I was gonna say a
ago.
couple months ago.
Yeah,
I thought this was
Maybe a different one.
placed up here more recently than a couple months ago.
This is dated on October 22nd. As far as the write-up on it.
Okay,
okay, so yes, must be different because the one I did was earlier.
Yeah, I did one a long time ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
I guess you could start surveying if it seems like it's repetitive or the same thing. I guess you
Yeah.
could.
It looks different to me than it was before.
oh yeah, I don't remember it
Yeah.
looking like that.
Right?
Oh, that's good. Was
Okay.
this, do you have any idea, was this done then? When was the open house?
Right,
When
there was an
that?
open
Was it done
house.
after that?
In
um,
October,
October 22nd.
yeah,
So it was done maybe after, it was started after that.
This survey.
Yeah, this survey was started after. Because
Yeah.
that was pretty good, the open house. I don't know if anyone else attended, but I attended, and actually it was, did you attend?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you, and I thought it was very well done.
I thought it was well done. I love sticking dots on things too.
Right. Right, audience participation.
participation, yeah.
Yeah,
I missed it totally.
yeah. Well, I'm glad you all attended, and I think there was about 40 participants, and the consultant seemed very pleased with the turnout and also participation level, so that's good.
So there were 40 people showed up
And so-
and they were pleased with that. That seems
Yeah.
low.
Well, you know what, sometimes you do these open houses and, you have very low attendance. The other thing is, that's another reason for the survey, the open house is just yet another point of reference to try to understand people's interests. And so you have an open house, you have other ways to participate as well, at the surveys and public meetings and et cetera, but focus groups. But yeah,
Hope it's not the day of some big other thing. Seems like that happens a lot, like three
Hi.
things that day and people didn't watch it.
Historic preservation?
Yes.
Yeah, come on.
Hi,
Mr.
are you here for
Flowers?
one of the?
Yes. I thought it started at 7. No?
6:30. And are you here for one of the
Yes.
projects? Well, both demolition permits were approved.
Oh.
So,
We just proceeded, I'm sorry,
so,
Oh, that's.
I may have told you 7. If I did, I apologize.
Or I may have heard it wrong, I don't know. We won't blame each other.
the outcome was good.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
good.
got what you wanted.
This is what it'll look like
Oh,
when a new one goes in.
actually,
very nice.
that's
Yeah.
actually rather attractive.
So I'll bring that back and make my application for an ARP.
Okay,
Which address is it? 610 Cornelia.
Oh,
Very-
That's Tuxedo
And
Park,
that's the
right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
hi, large.
that fitted good with Tuxedo
Yeah,
Park, I think.
that's the side view drive actually underneath there to get to the garage. It's very unusual because of the terrain.
Mhm.
You all have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
well,
Oh, God.
That's the one with the fire.
Yeah.
let's see.
Yeah.
So it's-
We missed the. But Is he got the boards?
We're just talking about the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, so we just moved on to talking about the comprehensive plan. Status of the comprehensive plan.
And the survey,
Yeah, we did those two, and yeah, I guess the survey's new. That's what
Yeah,
we
we-
decided.
We were trying to decide if that survey has been up for a while or if it was new since the open house, the one on journeytowg.com.
I was not aware that we did put a different one.
Okay, so maybe that's, yeah, the one, I think a lot of us have done the one that was up, kind of right after it was announced.
I mean, you could take a look at it and see if you've already done the other one, you'll know if it's the same thing, but I didn't think that we did a new one.
Well, this is dated November 6th from the consultant. It says, I've reattached the marketing toolkits. We can launch the survey to the community along with the sign-in sheets and open house, etc. For adding those emails to your email blast, let's plan to keep the survey open for another 2 weeks until November 22nd. So November 22nd.
So it sounds like,
Maybe they just extended.
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
same one
original.
being extended.
Yeah, that could
Yeah,
be.
that's kind of what it sounds like.
But we are hoping to get more participation, so I was just commenting earlier that for anyone listening out there in the world and all of you in here, anyone going to journeytowg.com and then scroll down to the bottom of the page, they can participate in the survey.
Are these all, this is,
Yeah, let me get you, do you have, that's the agenda. That's probably.
All right, yeah,
This point.
maybe, yeah. Oh, these are criteria.
Yeah, those were just in case you need to refer to criteria.
Always something.
yeah. They're in file.
Karen, we were just talking about the updated, the status on updating the comprehensive plan, and we didn't know if you had any additional info for us on that from the council.
actually, I don't, because in our meeting last week, we didn't discuss the comprehensive plan, so, I don't have any information other than
It's ongoing.
yeah, it's ongoing.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean, we, of course, we have a meeting Tuesday. And I can see if there's, but I mean, well, the last meeting was really brief because that was the election night, so we were basically,
Oh,
yeah, we were in the meet, we were like less than an hour. We didn't have a work session.
Mhm.
And then, we had the, brief meeting. So there was no discussion about it in that meeting or really the previous meeting. So I mean, it's just ongoing and cleaning up, but I can get more. I'm sure we'll have some type of an update or request one next week.
The consultant has informed us that on December 6th, they're going to share the phase 2 engagement summary of the open house and the survey results. And that will help inform the comprehensive plan and be added to the project website. So that's December 6th. And then December 13th, they plan to refine the initial goals and the strategies memo that they've drafted and they've shared with city staff for feedback. And
You got a whole lot of information there. When you get
I just got an email last Wednesday from one of the consultants.
Okay, let's see, he's
It's in the know.
And then also one of the things they've been working on are potentially these infill sites. So they're putting together some graphics for the idea of infill development. But I would say that those areas are primarily just commercial areas. So if you have maybe underutilized commercial property or commercial property that's lower density development, mainly parking lots, things like that, then there's could be a potential for infill development on those sites.
Yeah, they had that during the open house. That was interesting. I thought that was good to see. Because
Yeah.
there's certain places I always think of on Watson where it's an awkward area of development, you know, like why not do a little more with this? There's a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
really
land
think
for
about
what's
that.
there. Empty parking lots is
Yeah.
Mhm.
what's there.
Someone's cooking for that area.
So, yeah, something can certainly be done. It's not as though no one drives by either, so.
Mhm.
You gotta
Anyway.
slow them down a little bit.
That's
When
true.
you slow down a wallet as it moves past your store, it's better. The person who's driving with the wallet in their back pocket, that's fine. But last time I asked about it, there's almost no residential buildable lots left in the city. There's almost no housing. It doesn't have a house on it already.
And Webster,
Yeah, I mean, that might be something like these that were demolishable, but
right.
there's no
Yeah.
green lots, if you will, or brown lots.
Well, Webster Groves did only start, what, 150 years ago? Not exactly surprising. Made good use of the land, well, or made use of it, however you want to look at it. Okay, does anyone have anything else with the comprehensive plan they want to discuss or talk about? Anything?
I will just mention, because we did incorporate, we had made mention of the thought of the conservation districts and the potential of it being, you know, that it had been addressed in a couple of places in the comprehensive plan. We did talk about that a couple of meetings ago. And the suggestion was that with the subcommittee that you're going to do, is to sort of do it with some thought of giving some interim updates to council, so that if there's any questions or whatever, you don't get too far down the path before somebody comes back and says, nah, don't do it that way, or something like that. So just sort of keep that in mind. With reference to that, again, I don't think that we had the goal of wanting to wait until the comprehensive plan was done and rolled out before you started having subcommittees and conversations around the conservation district and how you would potentially see that coming together, but just to keep in mind to do some interim updates, and other committees do that often. They'll come to the city council meeting and just kind of share what your progress has been and what your thoughts are.
So that's good to know. And that brings us on to our next
Oh,
topic.
conservation district.
Good timing. All right, so conservation districts, and you gave us some very good information. Thank you very much for that. That's
Oh,
very
sure.
helpful.
Yeah.
I went to school at Illinois 2 years ago, but so, you know, I also sort of know what it's talking about. That was nice to be familiar with it. I don't know if anybody else, how familiar they are with Urbana, but it's very applicable, I think, to our community here. So that's nice too. It gives us a great starting point. We're not like starting from nothing, from scratch. You know, of course, there's lots of conservation districts across the country. So there's lots of information, but that also had a bit of pulling things together and talking about what other people do comparatively. So that's nice to see and nice to have. But we probably should start talking about making a subcommittee. So who wants to do that? Who wants to be involved? Or you want to be involved?
How many,
Hillary? Yeah. I think there's no, are you gonna ask how many people?
yeah, how many people do they normally
Is there
have
any
on a
limit?
subcommittee?
I don't think there's a limit of the notion of the
Quorum,
quorum.
4 people. Not to, but it's right, 4. You have
So
4.
4.
Which basically means you just have to document minutes and have that information available from a sunshine request if anybody requested it.
Yeah, can't make any big decisions, or any decisions, but that's not really what the point of the subcommittee is anyway. It's to discuss things, get information and bring it back. So, you know, if we had 5, it wouldn't be that big a deal either.
Just
Or
keeping in
all of
mind
us.
that you have to document it, that you have to keep minutes, you have to.
Of some sort.
Yeah.
About the point that there wasn't a whole lot that needed to be reported other than that what was presented at these meetings.
Yeah, that was, and that was my understanding from the meeting with the mayor and the city attorney, that the minutes would be like when the subcommittee reports back to the general commission, then that would be documented and serve as the minutes. Am I remembering that right,
Yeah,
Angela?
that was how I took it too. But I think we do wanna sort of wanna keep track of what you're doing. I mean, like
Yeah.
loosely, I guess is how I see it, but you do need to,
Yeah,
right? And you don't really make it, like I said, so you don't make any decisions.
Yeah.
Cause that's
think
not the
there's a-
point.
24-hour notice
And you do have to have the 24-hour notice.
of the notice in a second.
So, and you can put it on the website. But I mean, I'd hope people don't need 4 hours. You know, you don't usually do that. Give everybody, you know, usually have more time than 24 hours before you meet. So it's not really a problem, I wouldn't think. But otherwise, the minutes, yeah, I think you just need to, you know, be organized, keep track of what you're doing.
well, yeah, and we need to track what we were doing
And
in
then-
order to report back to the general commission what's
Exactly.
going on. Yeah.
Right. So you report back and that goes into the minutes.
So a summary would be adequate, right? Like, not everything that.
Yeah. Yeah,
nitty
Bob
gritty,
said
but
this,
just
and I don't
summary
think you need
submitted to
that.
to this committee for the minutes. But not like all of our emails and whatever.
No.
Whatnot.
According
Yeah, that
to
makes
what
sense.
we heard, no, you don't need all that. Like, we don't need that in general, like us saying like, are you gonna be there and all this sort of, you don't need to report that sort of thing, but yeah, just here. We'd like to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Put that in our minutes, you know, or whatever it would be. I guess that turns into old business and reporting of the committee. So, right, so we just need to report from committees. Or if there's something to report, I guess we don't report.
Or you mistake that there's not there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's important too.
Yeah, right, we're not doing it. Okay, anyway, so it looks like a few people definitely want to be on the committee, so that is great. We need a person to,
Who else was, other than Hillary? I didn't catch that.
all right, well, everybody's,
Well, I'm on the fence right now, but you two, I know you two.
and Carol.
And Carol, that's three.
Cheryl and who? Who else? I'm sorry.
Brian.
Okay,
And Hillary,
right.
Sue, you're on the fence.
All right, I'll do it.
All right, let's see. Okay.
Okay, did they need to, can they just then meet and decide what to do? Is that, I assume that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, if you need the city to post notice, we can do that. Just let us know.
Does somebody kind of need to be the leader of this subcommittee? I mean,
Do they need that? Or can they decide among themselves if they want that? Or should they have a person who corresponds with the city or, you know? Is that usually work? Do you know what they usually do?
Well, I mean, I think basically you're gonna have a group and you guys are gonna decide who's gonna keep track of what and who, you know, and document that and then decide how often you're going to report back to the city. Cause like I said, the recommendation is, you know, at least you want to do that. From an interim basis as opposed to you, I mean, for example, you get together and you come up with an outline of what it is that you want to do and you think you want to see and something like that. And, you know, I would suggest, again, probably after a couple of meetings, be prepared to share with the city what your direction is, what your thoughts are. With the city council and the city council, you know, on that. I mean, again, because it's new, we don't know.
Yeah.
What this is gonna look at, and we don't want you to do work and you didn't have to come back later and they say, you shouldn't have done that, or maybe you should have thought about this or something like that, you know, so.
Well, and the
But
attorney's
in-
always at your meetings, right?
Yes.
So then there would be that, a
Mhm.
person who's able to say you can or
Right.
can't do something that you're thinking about. So that's always good.
Right, and so, you know, we don't want to get you to, so again, you can decide what your organization, what that's gonna look like, and it just, again, just when you're gonna meet um, and I think like Robert was saying, I think if you're gonna have, and we can confirm that, but if you know, you're gonna have a quorum, then I think that has to be posted.
I think so.
Meeting, and
That's
then,
what I'm
and
understanding.
then, exactly.
And then, the way I've seen a lot of these operate before is that this is kind of like the working group, you know, the subgroup working group, and then typically the subcommittee would report to the larger committee.
Mhm.
And then you also suggested that the subcommittee, let's just say the subcommittee reported back to the larger committee, and the larger committee had feedback, input, make some changes, suggestions or whatever. And then I suppose the report to the city council could either come from the working group, subcommittee, or the entire group. I don't know.
And I guess I would see, I guess in my mind, your subcommittee would come back to the larger group
First.
at first. And then you guys talk about what you're seeing and what you like and, you know, direction and everything before you take it before the city council,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
so
what
that you're going as a
As a group.
total group, as a total, the commission. That would be my recommendation on just how, I mean, again, it's not a hard and fast rule, you know, but we, again, you're gonna decide when you're gonna meet, and how often you're gonna meet, and then you're gonna bring it back to the subcommittee, and then you guys are gonna say, okay, let's go and see. Just kind of share this. And when we do that, we do have to have, we need to get it on the agenda. So,
Oh, so we have to tell you in advance. That, I mean,
yeah,
to get it- I mean,
we have to get it
in
on city
advance.
council's
It's not like-
agenda. Yeah.
Okay.
You
It's
would
not
like
So,
put it on there automatically, and then if there's no report, just nothing to report. Cause I imagine we're gonna meet at least once a month.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, we could say we're gonna show up in January, and then if we end up like, oh, well, we didn't really get it together.
Yes.
to ask them to put it on, we could do that. I don't see why we couldn't do it. Ask them to-
That's probably a good idea. It also gives you a goal, like, you know,
Yeah.
then you move forward.
Yeah,
So,
kind of make us, yeah, commit to something.
yeah, you don't diddle around with it.
Well, the other thought might be that it might be a presentation, or it might be just like a written report as well. I mean, a written report could be
Mhm.
just something that's part of the packet for the council. Or you could do a verbal report. Just a
I think we should
presentation.
hold off on that until we have something to report. I mean,
Exactly.
you know, we don't want to have the city council get down into our weeds, you know, about
Right.
whatever we're
It
discussing.
definitely seems best to start it off simple when you're saying, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we start with the simple ideas and so forth, which might not need too formal a presentation, but yeah, whatever you come up with. Need to figure that out first.
Yeah, I think that we need to get together and figure out where we're going and what our first milestone is before we can really say, okay, let's meet with the council on this date, because sometimes our commission meetings end up getting canceled unexpectedly, and that could really kind of put a hitch in it, and I'd hate to become a thorn in the council's side if we're scheduling stuff and then canceling it. So especially getting started, I mean, I absolutely agree with what Angela says, that we need to get moving. And I also, just a note that Hillary, I believe, made at the last meeting, is maybe we could start with just like an overview of, like a high up overview of what conservation districts are and the types of things that are possible. Just to kind of introduce the concept, get everybody comfortable with it, instead of people getting upset and pushing back about details when we're not even sort of there yet. So I think that whole idea that you mentioned, Hillary, of just kind of starting with a broad overview to kind of talk about what they are, how they can work, what can be covered, I think that's a great starting point.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
In particular, telling the council, I mean, they should know that, that should be the first step with them because,
already.
because it's not as though they're gonna go read up on it. It's not their job.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so,
And they got plenty else to do.
yeah, they have other
Yeah.
things to do, so you want to be able to introduce it in that way, show what would be the advantage of doing this to begin with. Otherwise, people will be sitting there like, so why are you doing this? So, yeah, that's very good. You certainly want to do that. And yeah, I would say you need to meet as a group and just see how quickly you can get something moving along. You guys do, yeah.
So am I hearing then the conservation districts falls squarely on this commission and no other commission or committee on the city is working on this, on the
Right at the moment.
conservation? So we'll be kind of organizing for the city what this is gonna mean for Webster. And then somebody's gonna be presenting that going to city council. Say this. Is
But on behalf of the whole Historic Preservation Committee.
yes.
It seems to me it falls somewhere between the Preservation Commission and the Architectural Review Board, but the Preservation Commission really
Sustainability.
is very interested in this.
Yeah.
Can we look at the feedback from the comprehensive plan? Because I think there were a couple of places in that where people suggested or the idea of conservation districts came up. It came up more than once.
Yeah, I was gonna
You're
say
right.
we might kind of lead the way introducing the concept and what's possible, but then other commissions might want to
Join
Say,
in and.
oh, hey, by the way, you know, that sounds like something, a
Right.
format that we
Don't
can
forget
utilize.
this.
And then we can kind of, what would you say? As other commissions show interest in joining in, we can have the advantage of presenting it as not solely historic preservation, that this can be utilized across many departments of the city. And I think a lot of times that'll get greater buy-in. And then we'll also have more hands on deck to do the work potentially. So, yeah.
How do we get feedback from other committees?
We can do that through city staff, and we can help you with that.
So I kind of forgot about this because I missed the last meeting. I did meet with go to the Sustainability Committee meeting. So that's what they're called. And talked about, doing something together or whatever, but, they're really focusing on what they are doing with their program, whatever that's called, their sustainability program that they have for the community. They have a talk every so often. And I think it would probably be better for us to, if they have one that has to do with people's homes or buildings or something, that we join in, because so many houses and so forth in Webster are older, if not historic. So rather than them trying to do something else, they have sort of enough with that. But meeting with them, they also were interested, and in some ways, it was interesting to me that they looked at that they immediately just thought of historic preservation as us walking around looking at houses. And I found that, a little bit,
Naive.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a good word to use, naive. Like, they're worried about their own committee, right? So which is what most people are. So, getting with the other committees, I guess it would maybe be at times, maybe we would do stuff like that. One of us just goes to someone's meeting and mentions that we're doing this so that they know, because that was one thing. You could tell they're all sitting there like, oh yeah, I guess that would be sustainable. It's like, yeah, it is. But,
Yeah, preservation and sustainability. Big
Yeah.
time.
So, there's a lot of topics there. I appreciate that. They've got a lot to work with, and they tend to kind of go with your natural environment, which is fine. There's only so many people. So, but anyway, yeah. So to get the other people too, you could also do that. Just sort of go and say, would you like to, anybody want to be involved?
And also too, Karen, your input might be helpful on this, maybe as we as a commission start reporting to the city council, perhaps the city council members as liaisons to other commissions could, you know, bring up the topic and get people thinking about the idea of, for our commission,
Mhm.
are there ways that conservation districts might be utilized? So I think there's two potential routes there, you know, what Angela mentioned of just our members going and talking to other commissions, and then maybe also through council members acting as liaisons to other commissions.
Yeah, that's good.
There's also, I think there's probably two key staff members for this, I'm thinking. One would be the city planner. So we're advertising right now to hopefully hire a city planner soon. And I specifically, because of the nature of the work, I specifically listed the ads on some historic preservation job boards, because I thought that someone with a background in historic preservation would be probably a good fit for that position. The other key position, or staff member, is the plan reviewer, the person who reviews for the building permits, and also is the staff person for the architectural review board. And those two individuals would probably use whatever rules that come out of all of the conservation district discussion if it ends up being enacted. Those two persons would basically decide, does this project, does it or does it not meet the conservation district guidelines? But the preservation commission could play a role, the architectural review board, and potentially others. I'm not really sure exactly others.
You know, it would be awesome, and it'd probably, somebody have to come from the council level or Marie, Dr. Peoples level, but we need to do a citywide commissions summit. So all the committee, or maybe just the committee chairs, would meet together to talk about what each other does and where there might be overlap, and just, not that's my, I just thought it would be interesting.
idea.
It's-
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it's a
had
good
that,
idea.
we did have the meeting of all the people,
Did
and
we?
that would be a good topic.
Because someone says, oh, we did that 2 years ago. What are you doing for it? You know, it's-
I haven't been here 2 years. so-
I know.
I was just using it as an example, somebody that you're saying you get together with people, and then they could say, oh, well, we already did that. And then we can help you, or,
Yeah.
or what are you doing to get, you know, I know it wasn't aimed at
Yeah, I'm,
you over the 2 years.
but I was just looking at all the, and some of them maybe don't make sense. I'm just looking at the list of it, you know, maybe the police community engagement board might not, you know, but I'm just looking, so
Yeah.
maybe not everyone that, maybe the business communities commissions would be involved.
Just along those lines, when we were at the meeting with the mayor and Dr. Peoples and the city attorney, they were kind of saying, you know, we get so many proposals at council that it gets overwhelming. And I asked Dr. Peoples, is there some sort of mechanism in place where we can start coordinating between commissions so we're not doing double work or overlapping? And I know that the city was already kind of thinking in terms of trying to do that just to make work more efficient for the boards and commissions, and also to maybe streamline the number of proposals coming to council. So I think.
And to the employees, because it takes for, because keeping in mind, we're not employees
Yeah,
and we're not here every day. So when that information comes in, it goes to staff,
yeah.
you know, and
Yeah,
it can be overwhelming.
there was thoughts being given to just what y'all were saying about kind of working with other commissions, coordinating, and then to kind of streamline things and cut down on the volume. If there's potential overlap, that would be a good place to cut down volume of work and volume of things on the council agenda. So I know they were thinking about that, but you know, that's a kind of a complicated undertaking.
All right.
I have it in my notes, so I can throw it out there at our work session.
That'd be great.
But yeah, you know,
So I think that would be good. it was just good to have the meeting of all of us there. There's something about it. It
When was the
kind of-
last time that that happened?
I think the only time that it happened.
Yeah, I think that was the first, last and only was it? About 2 months ago?
2 months ago?
Yeah, we
Something
had
like
that, it was that
When we
pizza
met with the
lunch
mayor.
here with the mayor and the chairs and vice chairs of all the boards and commissions.
Oh, okay,
And
okay.
yeah,
And the attorney.
I mean, because during the day, I'm never
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was-
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, well, I think a lot of people were available during the middle of the business day.
But
So,
a lot of the
There-
chairs and vice chairs were there. I was
Yeah.
surprised how
Yeah.
many people showed up
Yeah.
for lunchtime,
yeah.
you know.
And so are you
Maybe-
talking about a repeat of that or something where all of the members of all of the commissions
Well,
get together and just kind of talk about an information session about what each of the ones do? And I mean, what does that look like?
you know, I guess that's kind of just what we're kicking around
That's something to
is,
do.
yeah,
It's a lot of things
yeah,
to put together. It's not gonna be.
yeah.
something we're gonna-
Was there a priority, not a priority list, like initiatives, a list of initiatives of all the boards and commissions? Because Eric mentioned to me once that there were something like 64
Yeah,
initiatives by boards and commissions. And if I had a list of that, we could share that, I suppose.
well, that's actually on the website. So
Okay,
that was part of the strategic plan. And within
Okay.
the strategic plan, each one of the departments
Mhm.
actually, well, so these were where the departments came out and each one had a goal. So we had what the different goals and objectives were from the strategic plan, and then each of the departments had to come in and talk. That's what Eric's talking about,
Okay.
how they plan to meet those different strategic, the goals that were outlined in the strategic plan. And as a result, there were that 65 initiatives, because just
Okay.
recently we had to just come back and tell, okay, well, list your top 5. If you, after looking at all of this stuff.
Your top five.
Yeah,
Do we have any?
I know, and that was from each one of us. So that's by, 7 people.
Yeah,
So that's 35, is it? Because, because all of it can't be done right now.
right now.
Right.
yeah,
So it's
right.
like, it's in
Something's
plan,
gotta wait.
something's gotta wait.
Yeah.
So what are your top 5? So that's what Eric was
Okay.
talking about there.
Just trying to find it on the website.
If you go under government
General.
and then at it says mayor and city council,
Yeah.
the bottom of that says strategic planning.
That's where all the initiatives are.
Yeah, so if you go in there and open it up, and I'm like, sorry, without looking at.
Okay,
There's a PDF here that's
Yeah.
22 pages.
there's a lot.
long.
Okay.
No, I did
Fun reading.
Save that.
whole lot of thinking going on.
Well, yeah, speaking of a whole lot of thinking, so you mentioned the, in Urbana, Illinois. I worked there about 15 years ago, and at that time, we created this conservation district ordinance, and we had this whole plan behind it, or I should say report. But I did want to tell you that, so recently I called, telephoned the planner there, and I said, how many conservation districts have come forward since this was enacted years ago? He said 0.
Oh.
So they don't have any experience with how the conservation district is working because they haven't had any applications. But the way it was set up there was that a group of neighbors, or actually any one person, I believe, could make an application in the city to designate this area as a conservation district, and then what the overall goals of the conservation district are, and the city would prepare draft some, based on those goals, draft some proposed rules. Now, that application would go before the planning commission, I believe, and the city council, and the city council would have to enact it as an overlay zoning district, as a conservation district. there's a rule there that if 30% of the property owners in that proposed district objected formally, then it would require a supermajority vote by the city council. But for whatever reason, I don't know the reasons behind it, but none's come forward so far.
When was that enacted?
It seems like we should have had that in the survey
Right.
in some
Yeah, I
form.
want to say it was 2007.
Whoa.
I'm wondering
2008.
too, I mean, we're some, people are so busy with their lives and kids and education and cutting their grass and everything else. A lot of people, I mean, it just, people are like overwhelmed. And
Yeah.
I think, even around here, just talking to my neighbors and stuff, sometimes I'm surprised that people really don't know what's going on with the city government, like
Oh, yeah.
at all. And I just,
That's
I,
40 people at the, that being a good turnout.
I guess
You probably don't.
Yeah, they might not have known that this was available or what it is, which is why nobody utilized it. I don't know for sure, but just from my own observations, I'm like, because I mean, I'm here and, serving on boards and commissions and stuff, so I'm aware of what's going on. But, some of my neighbors, I mean, these are educated people with resources, but they have their hands full and they love our community, but they really don't know
They
the
trust you.
workings.
That's it.
of,
Like you said, we're too busy.
Yeah, they
We
really
pay
don't
these
know the
taxes, so we
workings
can
of
take
what's
care of it.
going on. So I'm kind of,
Just guessing.
if that might be something we can address is, okay, if we're going forward with this.
How do
kind
we
of-
get this word out?
How do we
there?
get the word out and so people will know it's available and understand its capabilities and know how to access that process? Because I think that's an excellent point that Robert made is,
Right. People don't know about it till they try to change their house.
It's
or
not
do
like if
something
you
or-
build it, they will come.
Right, then all of a sudden you think, oh, I didn't know I had to do this to sell or to rent or whatever.
Well, it is a
Somebody
little
makes rules about that.
different. Urbana is it's a,
College town.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it is. It is very much so in a very different kind of way. So, I mean, so I said that I went to school there, so I went, I know what it's like. I know exactly what it's like. And it is not Webster Groves. It may have the nice, it's like, they've got the brick streets or whatever over there, right? So there's parts of it that are very much like Webster Groves, but then there's also this gigantic university there that sort of overruns. So makes things, so I noticed that in the report that, I mean, a lot of their things were like the noisiness and all
Right.
these problems. Which we don't have that.
Yeah,
We don't have that. We don't, here, if you're noisy at 8 o'clock, you're kind of like an outlier in Webster Groves. So,
Yeah, you have to,
yeah, it's almost too.
And I
quiet.
would suggest that Webster Groves residents are more informed than many other
Most.
communities
Okay,
in terms of what's
probably.
going on, because
Yeah.
I'm sure we both could have some horror stories. You send them an email, you send them a letter, you put it up on the website, you post signs, you put it in the newspaper, and they'll still say, I never heard of this. What's
Right.
going on?
Or you get asked for all kinds of input and then at the last second word gets out and people are going, what? And, show up at the very end of the process upset.
I just saw that with the last week's elections. People were like, oh, I didn't know that. They really do that. I didn't read it. People don't read. I think it's the biggest thing sometimes.
Well, it's true, they don't have time. So there
Yeah.
is a matter of, we do have, even though it's a different place, I definitely agree, there needs to be something in
I
there
think
that
it, you know,
involves the community. How do you
Right.
tell
Or you
people?
get face to face with them.
Utilizing
You-
some
You
of-
wanna remodel your house, you wanna sell it, so then all of a sudden that affects you, that you're like, I can't do that. Wait, I didn't know that,
yeah, you have to customize it.
You
make
have
the-
to, somebody has to
proposed-
run into that, to need that knowledge for some personal reason.
I
Or
do-
your neighbor tries to.
I do think it's a good Midwestern example. Unfortunately, some of the examples that you find on the internet are like California or something, and then where it's just totally different regulatory environment in California.
Yeah, the
People have
South, there's a lot in the South.
Yeah.
South Carolina, Atlanta.
I found some stuff from Kansas City, but it's been a while since I
Oh, that's
looked
right.
at it,
It's
so
one.
I'll kind of pull that out again.
Sorry, Kansas City has, there's one in Missouri. Where is it? It's
Is that
Columbia.
Columbia? No, I'm thinking.
Maybe Columbia. It might be Columbia. That would be right.
Mhm.
Another college town,
Mhm.
trying to do something to get these people under control. People. Yeah.
I was reading that one on Urbana. We've always said conservation districts here, so I always imagined there'd be like several within Webster. It sounded like the one in Urbana was one conservation district for the whole city. So do I need to rethink it? Is it one conservation for the whole city of Webster, or are we talking about neighborhoods?
And that was
Or what's the
neighbor,
advantage for either way? I mean, is this something maybe subcommittee works on, or are we already
Yeah, I
decided
think
that?
that's a good subcommittee.
Okay.
yeah, but it's more the rule, so that's the rules for the whole city. And then people can make the conservation district in different spots wherever they want.
Into what?
But the
yeah, to-
rules of how you make it, not what it is, not what, so the overall way you make it, but the rule of like, you can't have a red door, I don't know, whatever, that's individual to each little
Yeah.
pocket.
There was an interesting point in there that said conservation districts were more about the architecture than the preservation. So like legally, we can't make like a conservation district that says you have to restore a house unless it's historically. It's like, unless it's historic for other reasons, like a conservation district isn't gonna say that all these houses have to be preserved. It's just architecturally that they have to be, that's the standard. That's how I read it.
Read what?
That one from Urbana.
Urbana.
And I don't know if that was like a general thing or if that just legally.
Well,
probably
it's,
didn't know or-
there's different goals, I think, with historic preservation. The building materials themselves have intrinsic value because they are part of the original. It's not a copy, it's an original. But in conservation districts, the building materials don't have intrinsic value. So if you replace it with something that looks in character, whatever that is, then it's considered acceptable in a conservation district. And the other thing you mentioned, one thing a conservation district could do, I think, is if you say in the A4 zoning district, generally across the city, the maximum floor area ratio and the maximum height is X. You could say, well, that's too much for our area because our areas are smaller homes. So we want to create a different floor area ratio and a different maximum building height. In line with the character of our architectural character of our area. That'd be one way to use a conservation district.
Yeah, because there were the two different things there where you could actually change the zoning in a sense and make it that, like where it's affecting the zoning rather than the architectural character. As in the details of your home that don't have anything to do with zoning.
And like the zoning as far as the height and the site coverage and that kind of thing. If people have an area of smaller homes that don't want to be overwhelmed by these huge neighbors, that would be a means that people could use to help preserve more modest, affordable housing and not have so much of it be demolished for, $1.5 million monster that the neighbors never see the sun. Because of, the mass of the house next to them. So I think that has real potential to help save some of our affordable housing.
Yeah, because that would be, to me, that's the biggest thing is we have affordable housing. It's just, it tends to get bought by people to either rent it out or demolish it. And would be nice if people could buy it to live in it and own it themselves, but whatever.
Yes, he has some comments. He's muted, but
Oh,
Doug, do you have any comments for us?
No, I think it's worthy of an investigation to see how many people are interested in the conservation districts and preserving the small houses. In going to a city council meeting a couple months ago, there was a concern that the developers and those who are wanting to expand Webster's only interested in building big houses. And that maybe we needed to focus on what our strengths are. It would be interesting to see what sort of groundswell of interest amongst more than just our commission would be interested in having the smaller homes protected in that fashion.
Well, one thing I do know is that the open house for the comprehensive plan, there were a lot of dots for maintaining the small homes. And so I think there's a lot of people who feel that way. And the interest of developers who have nothing to do with Webster Groves other than to make money off of us, I guess that's not important to me.
I'm sorry, I agree with that because right now I'm sick about what's being built next to me. And it's two of them. And I mean, I'm in a neighborhood where, you know, like I said, my house is 975 square feet. Most of the houses, you know, are either between there and on the high end, I'd say 1,400 square feet. This thing is 2,500 square feet and it's huge.
Yeah, and then they get
You
a
know,
whole lot of whack.
It's huge. And you know, it's 120 feet. So he's got 2 60-foot lots. And he's putting 2 of these things there. You know, and so what that does is it immediately drives up the surrounding taxes.
Yep.
So the residents that are still there are immediately, so, you know, I had one neighbor say, well, it's gonna raise my value. Yeah, it is, and it's gonna raise your taxes too. You know, and so I again, I think I agree. Let's see how many people are interested, because the reality is the ones that's coming in and tearing down and building these humongous houses are builders who are only interested in their profitability.
Yeah, it's their job.
That's their job.
That's their job.
There's not people that are staying there, and if they can, and unfortunately, they're outbidding people that
they
would be
usually are.
interested in buying the house or the lot or the neighborhood or whatever, you
Yeah.
know.
What usually happens though is that they convince the homeowner that they are going to outbid everybody. And one thing that they can usually do is pay cash, make it quick.
Because they have investors. They have that, like
But-
this guy's got investors.
But it is absolutely true that a person who is going to live in the house usually pays more than a developer. Developer doesn't pay any more than they have to. And for whatever reason, people often think that developers are that's where I'm gonna get the money. You're gonna get a quick sale, but you're not necessarily going to get more money.
And they were very good at convincing me and other neighbors that, well, we want to stay in line with what, you know, and so,
sure.
yeah, no, what the most we'll do was 1,800. Okay. And then as soon as you get approved, well, the floor area ratio actually says I can make it bigger, so it's gonna be more like 2. And then we end up with 2,500. And at that point, you can't do it. I'm sorry, I had to get off my
I was gonna
soapbox.
say, so how does that, how's like that get approved? It's through the architectural committee, isn't it?
It's planning and zoning regulations. There's a big misconception that ARB has something to do with the size of these houses. We don't. By the time it comes to ARB, it's been through planning and
Planning.
zoning approval, and it meets the P and Z regs for the size, the site coverage, et cetera. So that is not, you know, I've heard that a lot. It's a big misconception. And if it meets the planning and zoning regulations when it comes to ARB,
There's nothing you can do.
there's nothing.
They can't
nothing
say
ARB
your house is
can-
too big. I can't say that.
And that's why we've even had conversations and brought back up that, okay, so there were some changes made to the zoning with reference to the floor area ratio. I think it needs to be revisited because it's too broad. And you have people come in and they maximize that. You know, so there probably needs to be something, in my opinion, that's more in line with the existing housing and not just the maximum that you can get based on the lot size. I mean, we know a minimum lot is a 60-foot front, you know, but what ends up happening is like in these cases, the lot's 170 feet deep. So that's a lot of square footage.
Like, I agree that's a goal of all this. I've not seen anywhere the conservation district is the tool to make that happen.
I know
Yes, I've not
that was
seen-
just,
I haven't seen that, that's zoning and stuff, but that's not anything that part of this, am I right?
But it could be,
Okay.
it could be.
mhm.
That's the whole point. That's what
So-
Angela was saying is that if, you know, there can be a conservation district that becomes an overlay zoning district that says that supersedes the general P and Z rules, like, okay, on this street, on this cul-de-sac, we want to have a conservation district and we want our maximum site coverage to be this. We want our maximum floor area ratio to be this.
So it really does become neighborhood, not like all of Webster.
Correct.
So
I mean,
you
there's,
have to go neighborhood by neighborhood and decide what would be the,
and it's generally up to the residents who live there,
Yeah.
the property owners.
and then you take that plan to zoning, to the zoning committee, I guess, is that the thing, right?
Well, that's what we would have to decide. How does the process work? And all
Then
that
they
stuff.
have to accept it.
So,
Like, we can't just say this is gonna be a conservation district with
Correct.
this.
Yeah.
no,
not-
we don't,
not us,
we don't
not-
have it,
Yeah,
we don't
can't
do it.
We don't walk in and mandate
Right.
this. This is
I
a,
mean,
tu-
even if
this
they
is a
vote on it.
tool, this is a tool for the residents and the property owners to utilize. This isn't, you know, a board or commission going in and saying, we're mandating this and we're gonna put this conservation district in. This is a tool in the toolbox of the citizens that can be a grassroots thing to say, this is who we are, this is what we want. And this conservation district format is a mechanism to make that happen.
And that even goes back to Doug's point is, and I think that, you know, ground up is always better than top down.
You bet.
I mean, it's a lot easier for the council to put something out there to support that if it's coming from the citizens. If enough of the citizens have indicated that this is something that they want to see, you know, and because, and you have your reasons and your explanation and your buy-in from the ground up, you know, because oftentimes when it comes from the top down, then you get your whatever, and they, well, we don't want that, we don't want you telling us what to do and blah, 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 blah.
And yeah.
And without
understand
even
that.
knowing the details and what we're trying to do, because that's what happened with the last time we tried to do something to diversify the housing stock. And because it, you know, and it was just turned into this whole thing where we're, you know, talking about race and all kind of stuff, and it had nothing to do with that. It's about trying to have a housing stock that allows for diverse housing that's more affordable for our families, you know, all over Webster. You know, so again, if it's coming from the ground up, I think you allow for greater support and buy-in than when it's coming from the, appears to be coming from the top down.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we actually kind of saw that with the Bethany Church. We had 14 people from the community come and ask us to do that.
They want
Right.
to put three
Yeah.
houses
We
in.
didn't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know anything about the church
Yeah.
being not a church anymore, you know, I mean, I didn't know that. So I don't know if anybody else here did, but you know,
At
we
one time,
didn't know
they thought
that.
they were gonna put three houses on that property, and then they kind of went down, and said, we can put two. There was some reason they couldn't.
Well, but the thing is,
But for a long time, that builder was promoting three houses on this.
yes, but the point is, it was the members of the community that came to our commission and asked us. It wasn't a developer.
That
It
was a
was,
good meeting.
it was the members of the community that came. So this is the same kind of thing. It would be the members of the community who would be proposing this, and this would be a tool for them to utilize.
Right, and they came
Yeah.
from other places, you know, like they were members of the church, the Lutherans that came and wanted to maintain this. They didn't even live in Webster there.
So when you ask that, so the rules that we come up with are how these people do this, not what they personally have to do.
Question earlier, like how many applications, that's what you're talking about, like nobody applied.
So in Urbana, yeah, no one did it. And whether or not they ever put effort forward to try to get it done, I don't, you know, that, we don't know that. So what would you do? Would you go to we would have to think of that too. Would there be like, you go to some of the homes in an area, say you have a whole little area. The one I always think of is little red brick ranches, which are so St. Louis to me. And you've got a whole street of them and they're just lovely. And you say to these people, if you would like to keep your houses like this, you could put something together that says no one can make a house that's gigantic vinyl siding right in the middle of it all.
Or build right on top of you ever see that, the ranch, and then you put like a shoebox on top of it.
And then they do something real weird.
And then does the city council, well, I know we're gonna be deciding this, but does the city council determine whether the rules they come up with are approved or not approved, or can be done or can't be done?
That's the process we have to lay out for
Okay.
everybody to say, how's it gonna go, what would
Okay.
go, and that's why I think we need to go back and forth with the city council, then an
Yeah.
attorney will say, yes, you can do that, no, that wouldn't be a
Right.
rule, that you would do it this way, or all that sort of thing.
Well, I think, yeah, at some point, you're just gonna have to get, you know, your media involved and your communications people at City Hall to get the word out that this tool is available to neighbors who are looking to preserve the character of their neighborhood.
Yeah, and that's part of what we need to look at,
Yeah.
what we need to present as something that needs to happen as part of this process. And what occurs to me is that with you have a big university, that's a huge transient population. They're, you know, they're there for a few years and gone.
Right.
That might play into why nobody really, you know.
And that's
Yeah,
what came to
yeah,
mind for me,
yeah,
because I
yeah.
just went to our, a homecoming in Central Missouri State, Warrensburg. And, I mean, I hadn't been there since 76, because I transferred to Missouri. So I graduated from Missouri, but I went back. I was just amazed at how much it changed. But the point being that so many of the little houses around there are rentals.
Yeah.
It's students living off campus renting. However, there's been so much development. And these houses aren't rentals. You know, I mean, and it's a good thing. They're not overly what have you, but I mean, even seeing in one place where one of the older, it was on a dormitory that I used to live in, and it's completely gone. But there's more apartments around. And I think probably what happened was the university figured out it was more profitable for them not to rebuild that dormitory and to build apartment complexes, because more people were living off campus, you know, where they had the opportunities and stuff to do that. So,
University, all those, you know, dorm is like gone and it's empty.
yeah.
It's like that too. There's
Yeah.
student oriented housing everywhere, and also number
Everywhere.
of students. So like each room has its own bath, but you're in an apartment.
All
with
over
4 people,
Columbia.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I think my daughter lived like 5 miles from the campus in a campus owned apartment complex.
Right, you know,
Yeah.
so it's so with Urbana, I'm pretty sure that
Okay.
was the same thing. That so much of that stuff is owned by the university or owned by private investors.
Yeah.
And they have no interest in doing anything more than the profitability that comes from the transient student population.
But even the professors are somewhat
Yeah.
transient, right? You know, you have even that situation are more transient. I mean, especially Webster Grove is not exactly transient. I would
No, it's not. It's a different, so that's a
So
whole
That's
different,
That's
yeah.
the point. That's
Right.
why I think we might have
We're-
more, if we get this in place,
It
more
would be a-
participation than you would in a university
Exactly.
town where people are like, shoot, bye, you know.
Right, so
Right.
then you
Yeah.
have the people that it was a great concern to may have moved away,
Right.
Yeah.
but got a
Just,
different job.
just by way of reference though, the house that we agreed to issue the demolition permit at 610 Cornelia is going to be a 22-foot square house, and what they're tearing down is 1,300. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the same order of magnitude as you were talking, Karen, but it's a little bungalow thing that's gonna be 1,000.
Probably
square
2
feet bigger.
stories now and
Yeah,
It's really
Yeah.
good.
2 stories.
yeah,
Small.
just saying that, I mean, still happens everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, it happens, it's.
Oh, it happened
Every
right
s-
next door to me.
Yeah,
In a
every
big
single one is
way.
like that.
Yeah.
But you know, these two that we had today, unfortunately, neither house would you be able to say, oh yeah, someone wants to buy that.
I
They
don't
were
think they were
dilapidated.
salvageable in any way.
They were,
And some of them are just,
Yeah,
some
it's
of them
okay.
need to be demolished.
yes.
But I think that there can be some more guardrails around what they're replaced with.
There was a demolition we approved at the corner of Foot
Yeah, I was just thinking.
and
about that.
Parsons, was it? Or anyway, it was a cute little house and there was nothing wrong with it. And
was
for a
really
while it
cute.
was for sale and I guess nobody bid till the developer came. And they tore the house down. But what really killed me was there was a woman who had lived there who was like a master gardener and she had planted a California redwood in the yard and it was there and it was beautiful and it's gone now. So
That's where it can help. That's where.
that's what I'm
conservation
saying. And the
is.
neighbors were
Yeah.
sick about it
Yeah.
because it wasn't the house so much, it's the tree.
Yeah,
And yeah, if you had a rule in your neighborhood, you can't, just cut down a tree, that's got some kind of significance.
yeah.
Just, it was just the sort of.
Yeah. Happened when I lived on Clark too. They cut down a 150-year-old bur oak and squeezed a house into a lot.
It's squeezed, and because that's always the case, right?
Yeah.
Maximum house, minimum lot.
Yeah.
But that
is-
is in the street because they don't have a yard.
Right.
And that is a serious problem where I live.
That's true.
They're, these houses, they have these huge houses and then they have pools and patios and pergolas and their kids are in the street. I mean, it's really, to me, it's very scary because they're out there in their little low go-karts and the way the FedEx driver comes through there. Oh my, that's an issue I would not have thought of until I see it up.
Get rid of those people.
My front yard, I'm looking at, I'm like, oh my gosh, these kids are this is bad. They need a place to play. They need yards.
Well, and one thing about it too is that it is a developer or builder's job to maximize their profit on what they're doing. Their job is not to come in and say, well, the community would really like a little bit smaller thing, so I'll just cut my profit right in half.
right.
And they're not gonna do that.
Well, and they're doing it in an area where they know they can get a return on their money.
Yeah,
I mean, and in Webster, the stability, the value,
Yeah.
the location, all of that.
They'll
is
get
just
the money.
profitable for the builder.
The
you know,
walkability.
The
Yeah.
walkability.
That's
and
everyone
all of
now.
there's
that.
no reason for them to not do it.
Right.
They
you
have to
know.
be put into a position to not, or.
If they want to do it, they need to conform to certain standards and we don't need to conform to their standards.
Yeah,
And the only way that's gonna happen is from the ground up.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I think this has potential.
Okay.
all right, so it's probably enough about that.
Yeah.
But you guys have a committee, and so you can arrange among yourselves, right, what to do, and you just
He sent,
need to
he
tell the
sent
state.
that all the emails a few months ago, everybody's email.
Yeah, that roster that was distributed at the last meeting has
Yeah,
everybody's.
And I
contact
don't know what I
information.
did with that, but that was the one that had the weird, like some of us
Do you
were
keep your
supposed to be
emails?
off the committee that.
Yeah,
their
there,
term ended.
there was, that's all been resolved.
Yeah, that's the one. I don't know what I did with it.
Yeah, that was, the city clerk said, she thought that was because of
Picture.
people were filling unexpired
Prior
terms.
cards,
Yeah.
yes.
And that's why the expiration date was not 3 years out, but it's less than now.
Hillary, would you want to be kind of the point person for, getting, contacting everybody and kind of,
So it's us four?
yeah.
Carol, Brian, Hillary, Sue.
Would it make sense to wait until after the first of the year since we're heading straight on into Christmas?
Yeah, I'm flexible with what y'all want to do.
Okay.
Me too. I'd like to thank some of what we do with this comprehensive plan work. I think it's just a natural fit.
I do too.
Okay.
Have any ideas about what's happening in your transition?
We have, so our department, in terms of staffing, we are advertised for city planner. And I'm hoping that interviews will start soon. Some of you may or may not know this, but my previous employer, St. Charles County, has been asking for me to return to work there, and so I've agreed recently. And so I will be here a little while longer. However, you know, the city's already started advertising for one position, and they are advertising in Illinois American Planning Association, Missouri American Planning Association, Iowa, Kansas, and other places as well, obviously regionally. So I know we have applicants already, and I think there would be a good pool of applicants when they're ready to interview.
I saw that in the paper.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
Me too.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about it. All right.
Me three, I was kind of surprised myself in that, you know, I never intended to leave, go somewhere and then go back. That was never my intent. When I came here, I thought I was going to be here for the rest of my career, literally, so.
So that was in your van, right?
It's just, that they never, my previous employer never wanted me to leave, and then since I left, I was adamant, or I should say adamant, but I told them, I said, hey, no, I don't have regrets, I'm going to Webster Groves. And since that time, they just wanted me to come, return, finish out some larger projects that I've been working on, like one is a $15 million grant project to buy out 75 flood damaged homes. Also to, for the first time in 30 years, to rewrite all their development codes for St. Charles County. And then a third project is to complete their master plan or comprehensive plan. They're about maybe a third of the way through the process. But those are 3 projects that I left behind when I came here. Anyway, in my short time here, I've not only enjoyed it, I admire everyone, what they had to contribute. You know, the Preservation Commission is, you know what you're doing, you're very passionate, and you're very capable, so I think that's wonderful.
And so are you.
Yeah. You know, you just
Yeah.
always want the best for somebody
Yeah.
that works for you and for your family
And I want the best for Webster
and
Groves, too.
everything, you
Yeah.
know, so it's really sad to see you go, but
Yeah.
understand,
Same here.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, it's like.
I'm gonna start my long commute again, though, so I live not too far from here, just a few miles from here, and I'm gonna have to do the long commute again, so I'll regret that. So, anyway,
Audiobooks are the answer.
yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Hillary, were you living here when you worked out
In
in?
Mountain Heights, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't too bad because it's over room first commute.
Yeah,
That's how I am, because I work in O'Fallon.
oh, you do?
Sister works
Yeah,
at
but,
St. Charles.
but at least
Yeah.
I'm going against the traffic.
Yeah, yeah,
You
exactly.
know, I mean,
I get
even
to your house in
sometimes can be a
15
little rough, but I'm going against the traffic, so it's not as bad.
If there's a ball game, that's why I used to.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
If there's a ball game, it's like, oh, just stop on the way home and do your grocery shopping in Chesterfield, and, you know, with.
Wait it out.
Might as well get something done rather than sit in
It's
traffic.
harder for me to get up McKnight to 40 than it is for me to get from
Well, it's
40
that
to
horrible stop
Progress.
sign, and that
Prospect.
horrible flashing light that's
Oh,
right,
it's,
whatever that
it's-
neighborhood
oh
is
my
there.
goodness. And the
Yeah.
earlier you leave, the worse
You're
it is. So I usually take my early meetings at home, and then I don't leave home until 9:30 or 10.
My husband starts work at 6:30, like he has to be there at downtown at 6:30, and he always says that about like his commute is nothing. There really isn't many people out on the
Right,
road.
yeah.
That's why
Mhm.
I'm always
Good for
like,
him.
yeah, but I'm in bed too, so you know. No one wants to be up that early.
Yeah, not at all.
Best commute was when I took it, take that.
Okay.
Like go to the train station,
Next meeting.
take it down.
is
Well, I
December
did say
10th.
give
Now
people
you
turn
know
to meeting.
And so meeting is
down and
adjourned.
up
We'll
on
just go
the-
through.
it's getting like
Second.
25.
My last page.
Agreed.
No,
Actually trying to get all the Quarry Commission packets done.
I'm
best I
still
can.
trying to get my computer, my laptop, and the whole new log on
I
the
took a picture of her.
website thing done.
Yeah, yeah.
and I still don't slide.
Yeah.
Missing.
Well, like the KBC packet, I need
Are
to
we
get that
done?
all prepared,
Yeah.
ready to go for when the council's ready to take that. Anyway,
Anyway,
I don't want to leave a lot of stuff to do for
Yeah.
Renee and everyone else. Yeah. Stop.
Well, okay.
See you later, Doug.
We have enjoyed you being here.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck to you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
It's not like you're walking into something you know, don't know anything about, so.
It's like he's been on a sabbatical.
Now you know that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Pretty much, there's Doug.
Look, can you see me? I tried to.
Yeah, we can see you.
Oh, good. Hi. I got to a computer where I had a camera, so great.
Where are you, by the way, Doug, tonight?
I'm actually at my house at the moment.
Okay, I'm just was curious.
Yeah, I didn't want to walk in at the end there, but
Right.
It was a really a good meeting in my opinion.
Yeah.
With a lot of input, and
Yeah, a lot of good discussion.
yeah, we're gonna miss you too because you were a
Thank
great fit, and there's always you can always come back.
Yeah, thank you.
Finish your projects and come on back.
Just whip them out.
Yeah.
Get them done.
I
Okay.
have a question for you, because I've got a neighbor that's asking, she tried to go online and find, and you may have sent it to me, but like I said, I've been trying to finagle this new system.
See you later, Doug.
I don't know.